Hello, hi. Happy Thursday. How you all doing? Hi, I am Silka, owner and chief paint slinger here at Heart for Art. I teach people step by step how to paint in my studio and here online, and I love doing it. I love sharing the joy and healing of art. It's awesome. Today I am going to show you, from start to finish, how to paint this Love You to the Moo and Back painting. It's going to be super fun. So thank you all for joining me today. Let me know if you're excited that you can, let me know if you're excited to paint your moo and back, and let me know that you can see and hear me okay. But yes, we're going to have some fun painting our moo and back today. So welcome everybody, and let's get going. I'm going to switch to show you this angle now so that you can see what I'm doing. Let me just get it about right. There we go. That's looking good. My messy paints in the background. Lovely. Okay, now here's one I prepared earlier. Clearly that's not the one we're going to do right now. So what we're going to do first is we're going to trace our cow and our lettering. Now hopefully you all got your stencil to make it nice and easy. Hello Terry, hi from Nevada. Wow, kia ora from New Zealand. Thanks for joining me. Great to have you here. Now we're going to start with our tracer. Now if you haven't already, it's in the, you can watch now and paint later, but it is in the Facebook event. Once this event has been, it's obviously going to be in the past events, but it's in the comments in the Facebook event. So print this as an A4 size at 100%, and then it'll be just right for your canvas. All right. I will also post it in the comments as well afterwards, so you can find it nice and easier if you're not painting with me now. Now, if you don't have your stencil ready yet, like I said, that's totally cool. You can watch along and then get ready and watch it again and paint along afterwards. So we've also got our carbon paper. Now, I've seen it quite a few times in the studio where people will put the carbon paper the wrong way around and wonder why it doesn't trace. So make sure you get that the right way around. I'm just going to pop my paint under here so I don't dip in the paint at all. So shiny side down. Now what we want to do is we want to put our carbon paper on first, and then we want to position our cow roughly in the middle. All right, we're going to draw the rest of his ear in, but that way we get a nice positioning with our piece right in the middle. Nice positioning, and what you want to do is you want to hold it nice and firm. All right, because while we're tracing it might move a little bit. All right, so you're going to hold it nice and firm, and then we basically sketch. So we're just going to sketch one line for the letters. Love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for joining me. And you can have a sneak peek every now and then underneath just to make sure it is working. But if you do that, make sure not to move it, because it'll be really hard to line it up again afterwards. All right, now you can see I'm just doing the middle line of these, pressing nice and firm, and then the outside line of the moo. And it is purposefully, I made it wiggly on purpose, so it's got bumpy wiggly edges so that you wouldn't have to worry too much about getting it nice and straight and perfect. And the point of these, my paint parties, is to have fun and just enjoy the process of being creative and not get hung up on trying to make it perfect, because that kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it, to be honest. So say hi if you've just joined me. Love to know where you're painting from today. I'm in sunny Wellington, New Zealand, and it was another can't beat Wellington on a good day today. Sun is shining, the weather is sweet. Yeah. Okay, now for everyone watching on YouTube, I just want to say hello and thank you for joining me. And for everyone watching me on Facebook, like I said, say hi. Let me know where you're painting from. Now again, have a quick peek, make sure everything is showing up all right, but whatever you do, don't move your hand underneath. Okay, now I'm going to paint my cow, and the tracer is a little bit bumpy. I've literally just sort of created a tracer in Photoshop and got the outlines of everything. So you just need to do one line to know roughly where everything is. You don't have to, you know, draw the outside edge of all the lines. So as you go, have a sneak peek so you make sure you don't miss any lines. Now if you don't have carbon paper, that's not a problem. Hang on, what I was up to. You just do like we did at primary school. You use your pencil on the back of your tracer. You basically turn the paper over and then, you know, scribble lines on the back of the paper, or you can use a crayon if you want to, but I'm not sure how that will react with your paints. And then you're basically putting your own carbon on where the lines go, and then you can use that, you know, just trace straight off your paper. That is another way to do it if you don't have carbon paper. Carbon paper, of course, is much easier. I'm literally just doing one line. What did I get up to? Yep, now I'm putting his nose in. Lovely. Nice. And very shortly we will have our lovely happy Valentine's cow. Now I'm going to do these little bits on the lips though. So there is one line across, but I'm going to just get that little dark bit in the lips though, because that will help us, because we need to create that, you know, the bit right in the middle of the kiss. And his chin, and again I'm just going to do a quick check, make sure I haven't missed anything. Don't think I have. Still holding firmly onto my carbon paper. I'm pretty sure I've got it all, so I can release now. Yes, so now I have everything traced onto there beautifully. I can pop that aside. We don't need that anymore. Cool. Now I'm going to start by painting the background, and I'm going to paint all the way around the cow. I'm going to paint over my lettering, and I'm going to use a nice big bristle brush. I've got a nice number 10 bristle brush. Now I love getting a bit of texture in my background, so I like the bristle brushes. The bigger, of course, the better, but sometimes when you want to do in between these little spots, then you don't want it to be so big. So I've got a number 10 bristle brush, and I'm going to use that to paint my background. So I'm going to do light green, all right, and I'm going to paint over my letters but around my cow. Okay, now you can choose any colors you like, but essentially I've chosen a color that I know is quite transparent. All the paint colors are sort of made from different things in nature, and some of them are transparent and some of them are not. So the beauty of this one, if you can see, I can still see my lettering through the paint color. All right. So, you know, if you want to choose another color, that's totally cool. Go for it. But just you might end up painting over your letters with a color that's not as transparent, which is not a problem. You can just trace your letters back on again later. Not a problem at all. But I've gone for a nice green pasturey sort of color for my cow. Nice green, happy grassy background, and I'm just doing a lot of sort of random crosshatch, sort of random direction strokes, because I like a bit of liveliness in my background, and I like a bit of, you know, texture. So I'm just putting it all down in random sort of directions, and you can see I'm going over the edge of my cow because I can still see the pencil lines through it. And when we paint our cow, the colors we use for the cow will be very opaque, so we won't have an issue. It'll paint straight over the top of our green. Now if you want to, you can paint the edges of your canvas as well. It does look a bit nicer when it's hanging on the wall if you paint all the way around your canvas. I'm not going to for today, but if you want to, you know, just have it make it looking more lovely on the wall, you can do that. Paint all the way around. So we're just going to keep going, painting our cow. Now I use Fuss Student Acrylics. These are really good. I use them whenever I'm painting myself and also in the studio as well. So Fuss Student Acrylics. They're just really nice, quick drying, really easy to paint with. you know, and they're just so versatile and have loads of lovely colours as well. So that's why I love those. Now the reason I use the student acrylics is because the professional ones are really quite expensive, and to be honest, if you're just learning to paint, you don't need to have the ridiculously expensive ones. The student ones are just fine. The kids ones are probably a little bit too cheap and you won't get the results that you want, but the student grade ones are usually, in most paint brands and labels, are usually sufficient enough. So find yourself some nice student grade ones. So how are we doing so far? Easy, right? So far. Is anyone doing any different colours? Let me know if you're doing any different colours. So now you want to make sure you've covered all your canvas, that there's no white showing through, that you've got some nice coverage. You can have some thicker, darker green areas if you want, just to make it a little bit more lively and three-dimensional as well, but make sure there's no white gaps showing between your background and your cow, otherwise they will become very obvious. When you put your cow on, there'll be like a little white gap that you don't want. Okay, so I've done my background. I'm going to pop my brush in water now. Whenever I paint, while I'm not painting, even if I've cleaned it, I'm in the habit of, I just put my brushes in water while I'm painting. All right, that way your paint brushes won't dry out. The paint pigment won't dry on your brush, and A, it won't wreck your brush, and B, it'll be so much easier to clean later. Yay. So what I'm going to grab now is just a small to medium sized round brush. All right, so you can see size wise here, this is my size. Oh, hello Joe, hi up in Whanganei, thanks for joining me. Restart will be available as soon as we're finished, as usual. So I'm just switching to a number 4 round brush, small medium size, so anything you've got nearabouts that will do. And we're going to use brown, and we're just going to paint the darker patches in his ears. All right, so we're going to add some white over the top as well, but we want to sort of put the darker brown down first, and we're going to paint in the direction of his ear fluff, if that's what it's called. Cows have ear fluff, don't they? So I'm just going to use a little bit, and I'm just going to do a few light strokes, just roughly where the darker, where the ear hole is, I guess, roughly in the middle of the ear, and then some more over here. So I'm just literally just putting a few down now. Okay, then I'm going to add some lighter patches by dipping my brush in white. Okay, so I'm not going to clean my brush, I'm just going to add the white to my brush so that the colours will blend on the brush itself and on the canvas as well. Okay, so then we're just going to let the paint blend, and we're going to go over the top of that, and you'll see that nicely blends it all together. It picks up some of that dark, and we're just going to keep dipping in white till we're happy with the shade of ear. All right, and still in the direction of the ear fluff. You might pick up a little bit of green, but it shouldn't be too bad. There we go, and then we just nice light strokes with the tip of the brush. Don't have to push too hard, and we just want to sort of blend that darker colour in and paint the full width of our ear. Fill the whole ear space in, doing it all in the nice fluff directions. All right. Now, don't be too critical as you go. You're looking at one ear right now, okay? You might be thinking, oh, that doesn't look anything like an ear, but you'll find that once you've done your whole painting, all of the pieces will fit together and it'll look fabulous. So very, very key not to judge your painting before it's finished, all right? So I have to do the other one over here as well. Now this is, when you're doing painting like this, letting two colours blend, you need to do it while the paint's still wet. Obviously if the paint is dry, it's not going to blend. So our tracer didn't go all the way to the edge, so we just take our ear all the way to the edge. If you're picking up green, don't be too worried, you can touch it up at the end, but it does sort of carry the colour through nicely. We just do the last strokes in the direction of the ear, and we let that colour blend together. If you find that your air has gone a bit too light, or one shade, or you want it a bit darker, then just dip in the brown again. I've gone a bit too light. I'm just looking at my original here. The right air is a bit darker. So we just dip in the brown again and add a bit more on top. Now don't worry too much about your edges and how they finish, because as you can see, we've got a nice finishing line around the whole lot at the end. So that will just clean up all those edges and you don't have to worry too much about it. I've tried to make this painting as nice and easy as possible, because my goal is always to help people discover their creativity. If you're painting for the very first time, I want to make it easy for you so that you realize, hey, actually this isn't so hard. It's just not that hard at all. And it isn't. Once you get someone showing you step by step how to do it, it's not hard and it's super fun. So that's why I've tried to make this painting nice and easy for you. Okay, now that we've done our ears, we're going to do the 2 circles around his eye here. All right. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're just going to dip in the brown and now create some darker patches. And this time the fluff is sort of going round and sort of this way, all right? Now you can put your light patches and dark patches anywhere you like. It's entirely up to you. I mean, I've got a darker patch at the top and then I'm adding some white, same as we did with the ear, and I'm going to a little bit lighter on the bottom there. And I'm just using really nice, light, gentle strokes, pretty much just the tip of my brush, to just create this sort of fluff effect. I've painted over my eye a little bit, but that's not a problem. We can paint that back in later. So there we've got the left, hang on, other way, the right eye. Well, it's his right eye. I'm looking at the left eye. His eye, one of his eyes. And same again on the other side. We create our dark patches and light patches. I'm going to do a little bit of a dark patch. And again, you can do this wherever you want. I'm going to do one up there and one down here just to make it different. And again, don't need to worry about your lines. We're going to clean all of that up later. And then some white, and we just make that all a bit lighter and blend it all together and literally just roughly sort of do our strokes so that the colours blend together a bit. You don't have to worry about the fact that you've lost your eyelashes, because they're really easy to put back in as long as you can still see roughly where the shape of your eye is. I've gone a bit too, I've lost a bit of that dark patch. I'm just going to put a bit more on, and it's literally just a few patches like this. Okay, so we've done the top of his head. Lovely. Are we still, how's everyone doing? We're having a bit of fun yet? Let me know if you've come on. Say hi. Let me know where you're painting from. Now we're going to paint the body next. So this bit down here, and it's pretty much the same technique, but we're going to do mostly dark because there's kind of shadows under his chin and then darker over here. So I'm going to paint the dark, using the dark brown. I'm not cleaning my brush at all during this. I'm just letting all the colours blend, and we're just going to do lots of strokes, this time downwards along the line of where the fur would be. Alright, let me just have a drink of water while you carry on. Now the brushes that I use, these are some synthetic brushes, and the other one was a natural bristle brush. Now again, the same as with paints, you don't need to buy the really expensive artist brushes. You know, they cost a fortune for a start. You can pay like $50 more for one brush, and it's just not really necessary, especially if you're just starting out. Unless you're planning to become a professional artist, you really just don't need to buy super expensive brushes. I buy the student grade brushes and they're just fine for beginner artists, and even, you know, even for me, I've been painting most of my life, I still really like these. They're good enough quality that you'll get a nice result and not blow your budget, essentially. I have done a blog article on my website about what brushes to buy if you're starting out, and paints and canvases and stuff, so if you want to go look that up, that will tell you, you know, give you a bit more information about what canvases and what brushes and what paints to get when you're starting up. So go and have a look on my website, on my blog, you can find that one. So I'm just doing lots of little strokes, and then once I've got most of it covered, I'm just going to put the odd little dip of white just to break it up a little bit so we don't have one flat colour. But yeah, it's really, really important that you get some nice brushes that you're happy with, but don't blow your budget. Like I said, you know, I just get the not the cheapest ones, but not the most expensive one either. Just the student grade ones are fine. Okay, so we're just breaking this up a little bit as we go. Whoops, I've gone onto his chin, but that's not a problem. We'll put the chin back on later. And there's a little lighter patch under his chin here. So when we get to that bit, we'll just pop that in as well. And just a few more little fluffs of white, essentially. Again, with just nice little gentle strokes. And keep putting a little bit more white in till we get that little white fluff under his chin. Like it's the little neck flabby bit. Some people have that, but cows definitely have it as well. It's not a bad thing or a good thing, it's just a thing. Okay, so we've got our little neck fluffy bit. I'm just going to do a few more dabs of dark over here just to get a bit of texture. And then I'm happy with my cow. I think I've gone down a bit. I'm going to make him go up a bit here. There we go. So he's got a bit more broad shoulders. Cool. And again, don't forget to go round the sides if you're painting around your edges. It's easier to do as you go than paint later. Okay, so then we're going to clean this brush and we're going to use it for a different colour. So give your brush a good clean. And once you've cleaned your brush, always make sure you dry your brush. I've got a nice overused paint rag here. This one's so stiff with paint it could almost stand up on its own. But give it a good dry, because what happens is the water in your brush, if you then try and paint with it, when you put pressure on the canvas, it'll push the water out and you'll get a nice big dribble down your canvas, which is not good. So always make sure you dry your brushes as well. Okay, so now we're going to mix a light brown for the top of the middle part of his head. And again, it's looking a bit weird right now. Don't judge it until it's finished, because once it'll all come together at the end. I promise, it always does. Okay, so we're going to mix a nice light colour. Now, whenever I mix my colours, I always start with the lightest colours first, because the darker colours are just way more dominant and you don't need nearly as much of them. So I start with the lighter colour, and then I just do little dips of the darker colour, little dips at a time, not very much at all. It's easier to put a little bit more in than take some out. Alright, so just keep doing little dips until you get a nice light shade of brown. Okay, we want this to be a bit lighter than all the other lighter areas, so you don't need to do much at all. So you can see there, that's quite light. Cool. Okay. So we're going to paint the middle part of his head just up here now, okay, and just the area above his nose. All right, so same again, we're going to do lots of little strokes. This time we're going to come down forehead, or whatever you call it, and just again do lots of little strokes overlapping, and every now and then, once we've got it filled in, we're going to add a few light patches. And again, we don't need to worry about our edges and how our colours match. Not a problem. We do a few little tufts up the top, little fluffs, which we'll get in later. Cool. And dip of white just to create a nice light patch. If you want to create a little bit of a darker patch, do a tiny little dip of brown. Now it's entirely up to you. Okay, that's quite a lot darker. Okay, which leads me to a demonstration of what happens if you go too dark. So you can see I've just done the tiniest little dip of brown, and I've gone a bit darker than I want to there. Okay, not a problem. The beauty of painting is that you can pretty much fix anything. So what I'm going to do here is just put some more white in, and look at that, it's going lighter again. Ta-da! I mean, worst case scenario, you wait till it dries and you paint over it. Not a problem. That I just love that about painting. I wish life was like that too. You know, there's pretty much nothing you can't fix in painting. It's awesome. There are so many little tricks and tips. I teach them all in the studio and in my online painting classes. Just so many little tricks and tips of how to fix painting boo-boos. So there's nothing really that's going to ever be a problem that's unfixable. You can always fix it pretty much. So I've got some patches of light and darker of that light area there. It's quite light, so I'll just show you close up. You can see same thing as the darker brown, but just with lighter colours now. So I've just got our cow's now got a forehead. So now I'm going to wipe my brush. All right, I'm just going to wipe it on my paint rag to get most of it off. I don't need to wash it. And I'm just going to use white around the top of his nose, all right? So we're just going to create a lighter patch, this bit here, just across the top of his nose here, all right? Excuse me, cow, I'll just put you back. And I'm going to go horizontal a little bit this time, just to create that slightly lighter patch. You will potentially pick up a little bit of the paint that's already there, but that's fine. We just want to create that illusion of your nose coming forward towards you. So a little bit lighter, just a thin sort of strip above his nose, a little bit lighter with that little dip as well. Cool. And then we continue down into his cheeks. I've got a whopping great big bit of green there. Just going to take some of that off, not a problem. Now the beauty is that white is more opaque, so it will cover that. Yay. So again with my lighter mixed brown, the really light one, I'm going to just come all the way down around his nose and into that cheek, big cheek that's probably full of chewed grass. Yay. Cool. And then as we get to the bottom, we're just going to add little dips of dark brown just to make it a little bit darker at the bottom there, just to sort of add a bit of shading kind of. So little dips of, tiny little dip of dark brown, and just sort of go over it a few times so the colours blend a little bit. And in his nostril as well, we're just going to create that shaded area in his nostril a little bit there, so that once we paint the nose on, that'll look like it's a little bit darker. And we're going to take the tiniest little toe dip. Hello Rachel, traffic and dinner took too long tonight. Not a problem, Rachel, you can watch the replay as soon as we finish, and you can paint your happy moo and back cow as well anytime. In fact, you can watch it as many times as you want and paint more than one cow with different backgrounds and different colours if you like. That's the beauty of the replays. Okay, so we've just put our shading in here. Tiniest little dip, like just a little tiny dip of black. That's possibly too much. Like the tiniest little dip, because black is very, very dominant and very, very overpowering. So you'll see straight away if you've done too much. So you can see the tiniest little dip there has already put a ton of darkness on my cow's nostril. But that's fine. We're just going to blend that in a little bit. And we're just going to, just a tiny little bit blend it in. And then later on, that will look like the shaded part of the nostril. If you've put too much on, don't panic. Like I said, there's pretty much nothing that you can't fix. All right. Grab your hairdryer, dry it. All right. And then just paint over it like it never happened. All right, and we just par that back a bit with a little bit of the lighter colour again, and that's our nostril in. Actually, I've probably gone a little bit too light now. I'm just going to put a bit more brown in as well. Yeah, dry it, paint over it, try it again, all good. Okay, and we're going to do the same. I'm going to wipe my brush because it's still got black on it. I don't have to wash it, but I'm just going to wipe it And I'm going to do the cheek on the right hand side. All right, so lots of little strokes again with our nice light brown going down the right hand side. On the right cheek, we'll fill the whole cheek in. Another cheek full of chewed grass. Cud, is it called cud when they chew it? I don't know, something like that. And then once we've got the cheek filled in, we just add a tiny little dip of brown on the tip of our brush, all right, and a nice light little touch. We just add a little bit of shaded sort of darker area on the bottom and like so, letting those two colours blend together. And again, for the other nostril, we just add a little dip of brown, create a slightly darker area, let the colours blend a little bit, not too much. And the tiniest little dip of black, just to create that darker area by the nostril. Okay, how are we all doing? Everybody going well? Next thing we're going to do is paint the chin. Now I've still got black on my brush, and the chin area is a little bit darker. I've got a bit of green on my chin. That could just be a bit of grass hanging out of his mouth. All good. But I'm going to keep that colour, that black on my brush, because underneath the chin is a little bit darker anyway. So I'm just going to go horizontal sort of strokes-ish, and then I'm going to add a little bit of brown, because we just want that area under the chin to be a little bit darker. Now you don't have to worry too much where everything lines up. Try not to paint over your lips too much, but you don't want to leave a gap there either. So a little bit darker with a tiny dip of brown and black, just to give it that sort of darker shaded tint, if you like. And again, I've got that, see that tiniest little bit of black, and it just overpowers it so quickly. So we just put a bit more of the light in and just lighten that up. So there's our under chin, so to speak, our chin. Lovely, done. All right, now we mix our nose colour. So we're going to clean our brush again, give it a bit of a rinse and a dry. Always dry your brushes. And we're going to mix our nose colour. So it's kind of a bluish grey colour. So I'm going to mix black and white to get the grey, and then I'm going to add blue. Now remember that the black will overpower the white because the black is darker and much more dominant. I probably don't actually need that much paint, just enough for the nose. So I'm going to start with white, and I'm going to add little dips of black. All right, if I put heaps of black in all at once, it may be too much. So I'm just going to, my practice is that I just add a little bit at a time, because it's easier to add a bit more than it is to take some out. And just keep adding until I get a nice dark sort of grey that I'm happy with. Now you can decide yourself how dark you want to go with your nose. And once you've got it as dark as you want it to be, I think, am I happy with that? Maybe a little bit darker. Little dips of black. Think, am I happy with that? Yeah. Then we add a little bit of blue. Alright. Am I happy with that, or do I want it darker? I'm just comparing it to the original. Yep, I'm good. Okay, and then we add a bit of blue, because we just want it to have a little bit of a blue tinge to it. Black and white, I hardly ever, I mean, for contrast and putting our final clean lines on, I definitely want to use the black, but otherwise I tend to always put a tint of colour into black just to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I've got my sort of bluish grey, dark bluish grey, and I'm just going to paint the nose, essentially. I'm going to paint the whole nose, and then I'm going to add some dips of white, all right? Now, while you do that, I thought I might tell you about the exciting, ridiculously exciting week I've had. It's been a really busy, manic week, but I've essentially just started some new training, and the exciting part of that training, I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's definitely hard work. It's hours and hours of it, and then I have to do the work that we learn in it. But what I learnt this week is all to do with how I can get my on-demand tutorials online. I've been wanting to offer you guys on-demand painting tutorials for so long, but I've had lots of techie issues behind the scenes and just haven't been able to do it. But my training this week, I've learned how to do it, and I was so excited because I'm finally gonna be able to share on-demand paintings with you. That means you can just go online and paint anytime you want. Yay! So yeah, that's quite an exciting part of my week this week, even though the training's been really full on in the tents and I've still got a lot of work to do it, to make it happen. I just want to, excuse me, I mean, the whole point of my business, I just want to share art joy with as many people as possible. So if I can make it possible to offer one more way for you to paint, then that is just, that makes me happy. That makes me so happy to know that there's more people might be able to paint and feel that joy and buzz of art, because it is awesome. So yes, that is my exciting news this week, that I will have on-demand painting tutorials online. I was hoping to have one on this week. I might still make it, but it might likely be next week. So look out for those. Now we're just going to add a little dip of white, and we're just going to add a few dips of white to the top of his nose. All right, just to create that sort of, if you can see it if you've printed a sample, you can see there's sort of like this little shape up here of his nose, and we literally just do that with a dip of white, and we build that shape up on his nose. So that just creates the shape of his nose and makes it a little bit more prominent. So yes, my on-demand painting tutorials, I'm just so ridiculously excited about those, because I've been trying so hard to get that to work for so long. I can't wait to just have more of you be able to paint with me. It's exciting. More people having an arty buzz time, getting creative and building their confidence. You'll be able to just paint whenever you want. It's so exciting. So yes, look out for those on the website soon. I will add a new collection and you'll see those online soon. It's exciting. Okay, anyway, so we've got our nose painted. So we're going to wash our brush now, and then we're going to do our lips. All right. So again, I'll still remind you not to judge your painting before it's finished. So washing and drying, because we need all the bits involved before our painting is finished, and we're not there yet. So now this one, you need to make sure your brush is nice and clean, because you've just used a dark colour, and we're going to use a red, which is very, very transparent. And we're literally just going to paint the lips in. We're going to use red, straight red, and we're just going to fill that in, but we're going to paint sort of roughly in the direction of the lips. If lips have a direction. Sorry, and the you know how when you get really dehydrated you can see the lines in your lips? That's what we're going to do. And again, we don't need to worry too much about the lines. Try and keep you roughly within the shape, but we will clean all of that up later with our finishing touch-up lines. So there's a slight curve. You want to add a bit of a curve. If you have a look at your original here, you can see there's the curve, sort of curves towards the middle. So paint your strokes. We'll add the darker lines shortly, but just paint your strokes in those curved sort of directions. I've realised that I can't paint and talk generally at the same time, that if I'm concentrating on my painting I can't talk as well. So if I go quiet, it's because I'm concentrating. Okay, so we're just filling in the whole lip area. I'm going to leave that little gap in the middle, because that'll be darker, and that's the little hole in the middle of the kiss, so to speak. Is that why you do XOX? Is the O the little hole in the middle? I don't know, could be. Cute. I like that idea actually. I like it a lot. So we're just making our brush strokes nice and curved in that direction of the lips. Alright. Go the other way if you need to. If you just want to fill the space in, generally the last brush stroke you do will be the dominant one. So if you want to paint it all that way and then go over it and do your strokes in the curved over the top of it, then that will work. Okay, so we've got our lips in. Lovely. And now we're going to add some highlights. I'm going to switch brushes. All right, so I'm going to switch, where is it? I've got a little liner brush. Now this is a number 1. Brushes come in all sizes. A 0, a 1 or a 2 would be sufficient. So you just want to get a nice small brush with a nice small tip on the top. And we're going to add the highlights, all right? So we're just going to do little dips of white, tiny little dips of white, and you'll see that on the tops of the lips up here are some highlights, and also sort of through the middle of the lips here. Now we're going to do this while the lips are still wet, so that those colours will blend a little bit together. You're not going to get total white, you're going to get a nice sort of pinkish hue. You go over them a few times, you don't want them to be white, and as you go over them they will dull down a bit to be a bit of a pink. And you want to not create sort of a whole flat space of those highlights. You want to still see your brush strokes a little bit, and again in the direction of the lips, and you want to go over them a few times to just dull them back to a bit of a dull pink, and just a few sort of random ones here and there. All right, and that will add a bit of dimension to our lips. Cool. And then we do the same thing with black. All right, so I'm just going to wipe my brush, and this time I'm going to mix a bit of black. I'm going to take a little bit of black, and I'm just going to add a bit of red to it. All right, and I'm going to make a really sort of dark reddy black. All right, and I'm going to thin it a little bit with water, just because the black is so dominant. We don't want it to overpower our painting, so we're going to just thin it a little bit. All right, and now if you're struggling to get a nice tip on your brush, thinning the paint is one way to not have big blobs on your liner brush. But you can also do what I call a twirl and pull, where you hold your brush parallel to the palette and then you twirl and pull. And as you do that, it will pull most of the paint off your brush and leave you with a nice fine tip. Yay! But yes, thinning water also helps as well, because it goes on more fluidly. It flows on a little bit better. You don't want to thin it so much that it's running down the canvas, but when the paint is quite thick, it sort of goes on all blobby. I actually did a blog about paint consistency as well, so if you want to know about mixing the perfect paint consistency, go back to my website, have a look at the blog. I forget what that one's called, just type in paint consistency and it should come up. But yes, that's quite key to getting your paint to do what you want it to do. So thinning it a little bit just gives you a little bit more control and makes it go on a lot more fluidly. So now we're just going to do a few light strokes with the darker colour, and that will just, we'll put a little bit of shading here and there, just a few strokes. You don't want to overdo this. And again, we let that red and that black work together, let them all mix together on the paint, on the brush and on the canvas. We just add our lip lines, so to speak, and this just gives our lips a little bit more life. And you really don't want to overdo the dark, just a few, just with the tip of your brush. Define those lines in the middle. I think this cow needs a little bit of chapstick, very cracked lips, so to speak. And just a few little ones here and there, but I'm not really overthinking this. I mean, I'm kind of putting some of them as per my original, but that ought to do. Cool. So now we have kissability. Mwah. Yay. Cute. Alright, so next step, we've painted our lip lines, so to speak. So the next step, I'm just going to have a quick swig of water. Now, if you're not keeping up or I'm going too fast, not a problem. Just wait for the as soon as this is finished, there'll be a replay. You can watch it as many times as you want and paint at your own pace. Fabulous. But now I'm going to dry everything, because the next step we are going to basically put all our black lines on and our lettering, and we do not want to smudge it, by leaning on it or anything like that. So I'm going to get my trusty hairdryer. Mine is covered in paint because, well, it used to be a travel hairdryer, but we're not doing a whole lot of that anymore. So now it's my painting hairdryer. So we're going to dry everything. Now the way to tell when stuff is dry, if you swivel your paint in the light, it's what I call the shiny wobble test. You'll see that there's patches of my painting that are wet because they're shiny. All the patches that are not shining and reflecting, those are dry. All right. Which wobble? That's the best wobble there. You can really see it. So if you're not sure if everything's dry, do the shiny wobble test. Shiny wobble. And that will tell you if it's dry or not. So give it a good blast. Sorry, this bit's a bit boring watching me dry paint. Better than just watching paint dry on its own though. Okay, I'm nearly there. So you can see now when I do that shiny wobble test, there's no shiny. Some of the thicker blobs, if you've put on your paint on quite thick, they may take a little bit longer to dry. Maybe go get yourself a cup of tea or a glass of wine, depending on what time out of day it is when you're watching the replay, while you wait for it to dry. But now we are going to use our little tiny brush, our little liner brush, and we're going to paint all of the lines, and that will slowly make it all come together and look gorgeous. All right. So give your little brush a nice clean. Now we won't do the eyes just yet. We'll do the lines around the eyes, but we'll do the eyes last. So we're not going to do the eyes just yet. All right. Now rotate your canvas if you need to. I'm going to possibly work at this angle. Just, it might be a bit easier. And what you want to do is, before I do that, is thin your paint. So get your black paint, all right, and just thin it a little bit with water, just because it'll make it go on a little bit easier. All right, that'll make it go on so much easier. Now I'm also going to show you, so you know, I've got a nice big blob on my brush, so I'm going to do that twirl and pull, and that'll take most of it off. And the thinner it is, not too thin, but the thinner it is, the easier it'll go on. So once you've done that, the key is the pressure of the brush, all right? If you put a little bit of pressure on, you're going to get a nice thin line, all right? But if you put more pressure on, you're going to get a thicker line, and more pressure still, you're going to get a thicker line, all right? So if you want thin lines, just light pressure. Thicker, the more pressure you put on, the thicker your lines are going to get, all right? So just using the tip of your brush, thin your black paint a little bit with water, do that twirl and pull, and we're literally going to do all the lines around our painting, all right? Now, if you're left-handed or right-handed, just start where you won't smudge into it. I'm just going to move that over, put it there, and I'm going to paint here. Just a little bit easier access for me. And when we do this, we're not going to do one line, we're going to do little fluffy lines, all right? So I'm going to be a little bit rough about that, because that will then create, you know, it makes it look like air fluffy ears again. All right, so I'm literally doing just little rough lines, you know, some a bit bigger, some not so big, and then when I get to his head, I'm going to put a few fluffs on top. You know, there'll be some sticking out because he's been on a windy Wellington day. And I'm not going to be, oh, he's combed his hair on that side. But yes, I'm just going to be a little bit random about it, and don't forget to go around the sides if you're doing that. And just, you know, having a bit, making it nice and easy. Because if you find painting hard, then it's not fun. It's not as much fun. So we're going to do the eyes as well, but we're just going to do around the outside of the eye. We will paint the rest of the eye in later. Alright, and then a few little fluffs. I'll just put a bit of green there. And just rotate your canvas as often as you need to, but watch where you're leaning. I'm a shocker for leaning somewhere, and that's not the problem if you lean on wet paint. The problem is when you then lean again somewhere else, you will transfer that paint and you'll put it somewhere where you don't actually want it. So nice rough little lines here, all the way down to his cheeks, and this adds a little bit of flavour to the fluff, so to speak. Instead of it just being one still flat line, we've got a nice little bit of fluffiness happening. Cool. Right, around his little cheeks and the nose as well. We're going around the nose. Now this line can be a little bit cleaner because it's not fluff. But again, just a nice light pressure. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you try for perfection, again, you'll take the fun out of it. You know, if you're just starting to learn to paint, if this is your first painting, I'm sure it's going to look fabulous. I'd love to see them if you want to post your finished painting. But yeah, if you're just learning to paint, the more you paint, the better you'll get and the more confident you'll get as well. So the key really is to just get started and just to have a bit of fun doing it and know that you can't really do anything wrong, you know, and it doesn't matter. The world isn't going to end if you paint it, you know, if you're not 100% happy with your painting. Worst case scenario, paint over it, start again. You know, it's just the point is just to start and have fun. Just enjoy the process and have fun. Okay, so I'm going all the way around. Oh, I missed a bit up there. Okay. So now I'm going to go back and do this bit. Nice and easy. If your paint is going on a little bit dry, that means you need to put a bit more water in as well. If you're not getting a nice solid black line and you're getting strange fluffy black edges, then you just need to add a little bit more water to your paint. And it'll go on fine, like I'm about to do. Yeah, art is I mean, yeah, I like it for the end result as well, but for me it's not so much about the end result. It's about the joy and fun you have while you're doing it. You know, the end result is not quite irrelevant, but for me it's the healing that you get while you paint, you know. I spent a lot of years trying to deal with a pretty traumatic time in my life, and painting just helped so much. So for me it wasn't about what I was painting, it was more about the fact that I was painting and just the therapeutic benefit I got and just the peace I got while I was painting, because it's just it's so good for you. Alright, we're just going around the lips. The whole world just disappears when you paint. You forget everything else. Nothing seems to matter so much when you paint, because you're just in the art, you know. And that's all you need to do. And then we're just going to add the little fluff at the bottom. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to add, I think on here I've added, no I haven't. Okay, just the little bit in the middle, the little bit. Alright, so it's a little bit of an extra shape. Have a look at if you've printed the sample out or if you've got it on your screen. Just get that little extra bit in the middle of the lips as well. Alright, now I'm going back to this. Adding a few little fluffy streaks at the bottom. And slowly our cow is starting to look good. He looks a bit creepy because he hasn't got eyes yet, but give me a minute, we'll get to it. He's an adorable, lovely cow. He will be in a minute. Where have I got left to go? Down here. Fluffs. Cool. Okay. Once you've done all your black outlines, we're now going to do our eyes, all right? And same brush, we're just going to paint the eye black. We're going to paint the whole eye black, all right? It sounds a bit weird, but we're just going to paint our circle eye black. All right, I'm just going to fix that shape up a little bit as well. There we go. So I've got a nice big eye. And then I'm going to dip my brush in blue, all right? I'm going to draw a circle, paint, yep. I'm going to take a bit of blue and I'm going to paint a circle inside the eye, leaving the outside lines of the brush. So I'm going to leave like a brush width, the brush width of black around the eye, all right? If you don't quite get it right, you can always put the black back on top, but we're going to leave a whole brush width line of black around the eye, all right? And a little bit more at the bottom. So we're just putting that blue right on top of our black so it nicely blends together. If you put quite a bit of black on, then add a bit more blue. And same again on the other side. We're just going to paint that right in, nice round circle of an eye. We'll put the eyelashes on in a second, and then get a bit of blue and put that over the top so that they'll blend together. Nice sort of circle eye, leaving a thin line around the outside. Okay, into the middle there. Cool. And while it's still wet, we just want to wipe our brush, all right? Tiny little dip of white, and we're going to put our pupils in, okay? Now the pupils, we're literally a tiny little dip of white. It's going to go on quite contrasty to begin with. So they're sort of at the top, slightly out to the edge there. We just want to blend that in slightly so that it doesn't go on like completely white. Another little dip on the other eye. Blend it in slightly. Oh, that's blended in completely so I can't see it anymore. A little bit more white this time. Blend a little bit, and then we've got our pupils. Look at that. Oh, look, isn't he gorgeous? Look. Mwah. Yay. So we've got our lovely blue eyes now of our cow. Awesome. I hope the cows are looking beautiful and lovely as well. Okay, now we want to dry everything so that we can add our lettering, all right? Now you can do your lettering without drying it if you want to, but I'm a shocker for smudging stuff, so I'm just going to dry everything so I don't risk smudging anything, all right? So get on the brush. Alright, I should be right to avoid the eyes. Cool. Oh, my side's still... I get paint over myself all the time. And then I go to the supermarket with paint on my face and they don't tell me. I get home and notice it. Alright, so now we're going to add the lettering. So if you've used a darker colour on your background and you can't see it anymore, grab your tracer and just use that bit and trace it on again. But hopefully if you've used a nice light colour, you'll see that I can still see all of my lettering, all of my lettering through my paint. Yay. So I'm going to use the same black little liner brush, either your 0 or your 1 or a 2, whatever you've got. I've got a 1, and I'm going to add a bit of red to my black, just because I like to carry the colour along through my painting. So a bit of red to my black, and I'm adding a bit of water to thin it so it goes on a bit easier, and then doing that twirl and pull. And I'm going to do the love you to the and back. Alright, we'll do the moon in a different colour. Moo. Actually, that's how this painting came about. I did a free tutorial a little while ago, love you to the moon and back, and the whole time I was thinking, oh, it would be cool to do a cow, moo and back. So I did, yay, and here it is. Okay, so I'm going to just very light, like I showed you before, the more pressure you use, the thicker your lines. Alright, so I'm just going to use a nice light touch and just one stroke for each letter. I'm just going to use the very tip of my brush. Now if you want to, I always have, in the studio, I always have practice canvases for people to just practice on, essentially. You know, if you're a bit nervous about doing it straight onto your canvas, get a bit of cardboard or another piece of paper, or even practice on your palette, you know. Have a practice first, and then once you're feeling more comfortable with it, then you can put it onto your canvas. Alright, we now have love. Officially, we have love. Look at that. We have cow love. Lovely. So love you. Awesome. I don't mind the hand lettering so much. It is much easier when you have a stencil, but I don't really mind it so much. I did a little bit of calligraphy at school when I was younger, so I guess, I don't know that makes it easier. But as long as you're just using the tip of your brush and you're not rushing, it's not too hard. Like I said earlier, I try to make all of my paintings super easy, and I'm 100% confident that anyone can do any of my paintings if they just follow my steps. All of my paintings are doable, even by people who have never painted before, because that is my whole goal, is because I want to share the healing and the joy that art brings. So I want to make it as accessible and possible for anybody and everybody, because nobody should miss out on how good it feels to paint and see your finished painting when you're done as well. It's just such a good feeling, and it puts a nice big happy deposit in your emotional bank account if you need it. So that's why I've made all of my paintings doable by anybody, so nobody has to miss out. Anybody who wants some art joy or needs some stress relief or healing can do, you know, I want to make it possible for anyone to be able to paint. So we are and back now. There we go. Lovely. And back. Love you to the and back. Yay. My A's a bit wonky. Might just straighten that up a little bit. It's not a biggie really though. There we go. Love you to the and back. So now I'm going to, so I've done all my small letters. Now I'm going to do my moo, and I'm going to switch to blue. A blue moo. Not a blue moon, a blue moo. So give that a bit of a dry my brush, and I'm just going to do it straight blue. So I've got a cool blue, but the fun of this one, actually I'm going to dry my and back, otherwise I will smudge it, because I'm a shocker for doing that. Hang on. Hair dryers are so handy when you paint. If you don't want to wait for it to dry, give it a blow dry. So like I said at the beginning, you can use any colours you want for your cow, you know. You don't have to do the same colours as me. I'll show you, where is it? I did another one with a yellow background. I had you guys vote on which one you thought was nicer. Here's the one with the yellow background. The green got all the votes, but I quite like the yellow one as well. Look how sunny and sunsetty lovely this one looks, you know, with the sort of a yellow orangey background. So yes, you can watch this replay as many times as you want and do lots of different colours. Pick any colours you want. It's your painting, so as the artist, you get to decide. That is the joy of it. So I'm just putting in my moo, and my paint is a little bit thick, so I'm just going to thin it a little bit so it's not too blobby. But the letters should be bumpy because, you know, this is a playful one. We're not trying to go for straight edges here. We're going for bumpy, lumpy edges because that just makes it a little bit more playful. Yeah, you can, you know, whatever colour, whatever room you want to hang this in, or if you're going to give it to someone for a Valentine's. See, I've just done it. I've leaned on my K. All right, now I get to show you how to fix that if you've done it too. If you're giving this to someone and you know what colour their wallpaper is, you can match the wallpaper to your background colour maybe. You can paint whatever colours you like. I'm just going to turn that around a little bit for easier access. Now your blue is quite a transparent colour, so you may want to go back and do a second coat once that's dry, if you need to. Got a nice wobbly, oops, sorry, gone off camera, my bad. See, I just get lost in it sometimes and I forget you're there. That's the joy of painting. Just doing my O's. You know, my favourite way to spend a rainy weekend afternoon, I have a cheeky glass of wine and just paint something, put some nice music on and just get lost in the painting. Every now and then I just get so lost that, you know, at some point I realise, oh, it got dark, it's 10 o'clock at night, wow, I haven't had dinner yet. You just get so lost in it because it's just so therapeutic and relaxing. It's awesome. Okay, rotating for easier access. My little bumpy moo. And I am going to do a little bit of a second coat on some of these because they're a bit thin. So if you need to, just put a second coat on so we get a nice, bright, vibrant moo, so to speak. Actually, I don't know if Heather's watching. Heather, are you watching today? Happy birthday for yesterday, if you're watching from Australia. And today, happy birthday to my daddy. It's my dad's birthday today too. So I will be giving him a ring shortly to wish him a big happy birthday. And happy birthday to you too if you're watching today and it happens to be your birthday. Okay, nearly done with me moo. So you can see I'm being quite rough with this because I want the letters to be a bit rough because they want to have a bit of movement and a bit of wiggle in them just to make them feel a bit more alive. And just to add a little bit more of a wiggle to them, I'm just going to use the tip of my brush, a little bit of blue, and I'm going to add some wiggle lines. Alright, so wherever you want to, I'm just going to do that twirl and pull, and just with the tip of my brush, I'm just going to sort of add a little bit of a wiggle line or two, just to make it look a little more like it's actually mooing. Ooh. A bit more movement. There we go. And just like that, we have a love you to the moo and back. well done. If you've just finished your Love You to the Moo and Back painting, well done. Congratulations. If this is your first painting, even more congratulations. Good for you, and yay, you are now officially an artist. That's very exciting. There is one more thing left to do though, and that is to be proud of your work and autograph it. Put your initials somewhere on it, your first name, your last name, your, it can just be down here in a corner, but do put your name to it, be proud of it. You've just created something lovely, so do put your autograph on it. But yay, that means we are now all finished, and I'm just going to switch back to me here. Hello again. Oh gosh, my freshly washed hair is a bit frizzy today. So yes, hello, me again. So I hope that you liked that and that you had a bit of fun. That you like your cow and had loads of fun painting your cow. If you're going to watch this on the replay and you want the tracer, I will add it in the comments shortly. I've lost the ability to pin my comments to the top though, so if you can't find it, just type tracer in the comments and I will answer with the link, all right? The tracer, the stencil, I mean, for the cow and the lettering, all right? And I hope that whoever you're giving this painting to will love it as much as you enjoyed painting it. Or if you're going to keep it yourself, I hope that you enjoy it as well. Now, if you want to paint something else with me, I will be doing more free stuff coming up. But I'd love to help you create another masterpiece. And I'd love to paint with you online again or in the studio. Just, go and have a look at my website, check out the upcoming events and choose your favourite and come paint with me. All right, so I hope you've had fun. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a fabulous rest of the week, and I will see you at the end of a paintbrush again really soon. And have a sweet Valentine's from me and our cute kissy cow. Mwah, mwah. Bye.